Industry is a series that's benefited from being allowed to gradually evolve. The current streaming ecosystem has seen many promising shows canceled if they don't immediately perform, and it's easy to forget the many great shows that took several seasons to find their footing. Industry began as an intriguing, albeit soapy, workplace drama about the aspirations of young people within a fragmented economy, but subsequent seasons transformed it into a cutthroat thriller clearly aimed at fans of Succession. Industry Season 4 unlocks the potential that the series has always had to present an eerie parallel to reality, as its characters can now transform the markets that they were once novices in. As entertaining as the first 3 seasons of Industry were, they retroactively feel like a build-up to the kinetic, disturbing, and surprisingly relevant cat-and-mouse games within its newest installment. Although it may take a financial wizard to understand all the complex terminology that the series refers to, Industry pushes its characters towards their emotional and ethical limits in Season 4. Even if it was clear that they're selfish antiheroes, the show's return questions whether the wide-eyed university graduates the story began with now have the power to substantially harm global financial markets. In a naughty season that touches on themes of addiction, abuse, manipulation, and shame, the strength of Industry's ensemble brings authentic emotion to the most incendiary of moments.
What is Industry Season 4 about?
The core ensemble that Industry began with has been chipped away, as Season 4 doesn't feature Robert Spearing, the former Pierpoint wunderkind who was once a colleague to Yasmin Kara-Hanani and Harper Stern. The conflict between Harper and Yasmin is what drives Season 4, as both women have ascended to positions of power in direct conflict with each other. Harper now leads her own firm, with Sweet Pea and Kwabena Bannerman helping to sniff out promising investments and shorts. Conversely, Yasmin has found herself in a dark period in her new marriage to the former Lumi CEO, Sir Henry Muck, who has been spiraling into depression following his failed political ambitions. Yasmin's desperation to give Henry another opportunity to prove his worth leads them to Whitney Halberstrom, the cold-hearted CFO of a payment processing startup known as Tender. The absence of Robert, similar to the disappearance of Gus Saki after Season 2, may have been disappointing given their reputations as fan favorites, but Industry benefits from focusing on the competing interests of Harper and Yasmin. While the ending of Season 3 suggested that their friendship was irreparable, the characters share so many of the same goals that they would naturally be caught up with the biggest new player in the financial world. Harper believes that she can see right through Whitney, as she's well aware of the consequences of linking up with obsessive, detached men. Unfortunately, her obsession with cutting through Whitney's lies means she's once again found herself working alongside Eric Tao, with whom she shares a complex history. Eric is perhaps the most unpredictable character in the series, and Season 4 paints an increasingly complex portrayal of his shattered conscience and broken family life.
Industry Season 4 benefits from an expanded cast.
The decision to wrap Industry Season 4 around the trajectory of Tender works because Minghella gives a magnetic, unnerving performance that is eerily reminiscent of contemporary CEOs who bully and barter their way to influential roles. Although Industry has more than a few loudmouth, exclamatory characters who quickly rush to conclusions, there's not a moment in which Whitney doesn't feel several steps ahead of both his allies and adversaries. Henry wasn't necessarily an empathetic character to begin with, but it's hard not to feel somewhat sympathetic for him when Whitney takes advantage of his insecurities and vulnerabilities. Given how quickly startups rise, fall, and develop, it makes sense within the Industry universe that someone like Whitney could suddenly emerge as a player willing to shake up the entire system. Following his showcase role in last season's White Mischief, Sagar Radia gives another great performance as Rishi Ramdhani, whose combative nature has made him a liability within Harper's new band of allies. The immediate friction that emerges between Rishi and Sweet Pea emphasizes that Industry, unlike other contemporary dramas, has no interest in retaining the status quo. Even if Rishi finds himself tied to Harper, there's no illusion on her part that he can be entirely trusted. Consequences are felt throughout Industry Season 4, and Rishi's reckoning with his worst characteristics adds dimensionality to someone who had previously served as a bemusing distraction from the main storyline. Grinding Rishi to a halt also allows the series to flesh out Sweet Pea, whose reasons for joining Harper make her a rare sympathetic character. Industry is grimly realistic in depicting the cynicism of investments and trading, but Petch's bravery in showing Sweet Pea's trauma and self-hatred is legitimately moving. The more expansive scope of Season 4, which includes many international locations, means that Industry is able to spotlight its standout guest stars without losing momentum. Charlie Heaton's character, Jim Diker, puts the conflict of the season into motion, as the financial journalist is the first to suspect that Tender's pristine reputation masks a latent history of lies. The show's depiction of journalism is spot on, as Jim is forced to cut corners in order to pursue a story that he knows will receive blowback, and is stigmatized when he dares to call out a powerful institution. As was the case on Stranger Things, Heaton embodies the spirit of a fundamentally well-meaning yet socially awkward character who more often than not bites off more than he can chew. On the flip side, Cal Penn gives an uncomfortably hilarious performance as J. Jonah Atterbury, a repulsive, unapologetically salacious ally to Whitney, who quickly finds himself on the outside looking in. Although Industry seems to take sick pleasure in humbling a character as blatantly offensive as Jay, watching him cut out of the company he helped to build only emphasizes how heartless Whitney is. Industry has occasionally evoked comparisons to Mad Men, as both shows embody the culture and politics of the decades they represent, so it feels like a self-aware casting choice to introduce Kiernan Shipka as Haley Clay, a young staffer within Tender who feels like a dark mirror to Sally Draper. Haley's gutted confidence makes her a particularly interesting mirror to Yasmin, and sets the two up on a collision course that forces both to adapt to their new power dynamics. While Shipka's reduced screen time in later episodes does feel like a missed opportunity, there's more than enough reason to believe she'd have a more substantial role in subsequent seasons.
Industry Season 4 takes a bold stance on hot-button issues.
Previous seasons of Industry made it clear in no uncertain terms that faith in a naturally evolving market was used as a justification by institutions to elude responsibilities. After seeing the emotional, physical, and ethical indignities that both Harper and Yasmin endured to rise to the top of the food chain, Industry Season 4 puts a fine point on the destructive capabilities of neoliberalism. Whitney isn't just the leader of a faceless company that operates in superficial areas, but someone whose profits are made by the dehumanization of others. A primary subplot in the season is the effects of pornography, which both contributes to a culture of sexism and has darker implications of trafficking and addiction. That a free market payment processing system like Tender would offer anonymity to its potential clients becomes a pressing threat, given that it allows Whitney to take no responsibility for any duplicitous activities his startup is used for. Yet Industry doesn't tackle these issues for activist reasons, as the consequences of misogyny have a direct and emotional effect on Yasmin, Harper, and Sweet Pea in particular. The series may have previously raised eyebrows with its frequently graphic content, but it handles these sobering topics of discussion with maturity. It's notable that Season 4 of Industry directly invokes recent events in noting the effects that the second administration of President Donald Trump and the post-Brexit fallout have led to increased agitation in the market. The show's conclusions about how easily politicians will bend the knee to financiers is spookily prescient, as Industry is keen to note that it takes place in a version of 2026 that is remarkably similar to reality. The focus on politics in the latter half of the season only complicates the stakes of what Tender could do, and includes a breakout performance by Amy James Kelly as the Labour Party minister Jennifer Bevan, who finds herself overwhelmed by the corruption within her own party. On a visceral level, Industry has developed an aesthetic that is unlike anything else on television and perfectly reflects the show's modernity. Although there's a slightly old-fashioned Aaron Sorkin-esque pattern to the rhythmic exchange of complex terminology, the latest season is filled with existentialist moments that rely solely on avant-garde visuals and the remarkable score by Nathan Mackay. Although trailers for the season teased morose versions of New Order's Blue Monday and Nina Simone's Lilac Wine, that's a fraction of the outstanding needle drops utilized throughout the season to underscore pivotal moments. HBO clearly spared no expense in using notable tracks to evoke specific emotional reactions. When compared to the scrappy origins of the show, the expensive soundtrack for Industry Season 4 is only further indication that the series has leveled up. Much of the charm in Industry's first 3 seasons came from the sense that the show put all of its ideas out on the table. While there's value in shows that bide their time and map their narratives out several seasons in advance, Industry has made sure that each season could serve as a potential ending. While there are loose ends that are brought to definitive conclusions, Season 4 of Industry directly teases the show's future and presents some exciting open questions about how the ramifications of its finale will play out. Although there's never the sense that Industry is holding itself back, the wider canvas that Season 4 operates on suggests that the series could continue to evolve to keep up with reality's increasingly unbelievable events. Industry may share similarities with previous HBO dramas, but it's evolved into a definitive show of the moment.